said this before and I'll say it again. You don't miss the old Roblox. You miss being happy. You used to be happy when you first found this. You're not getting your childhood back and you're not getting your joy back. Sorry.
Alright, if it's not explained already or in the intro yet, I guess I'll just explain it here. Basically, this tier list is going to be pretty simple. This is just going to be me rating, like, types of avatar items that Roblox has released. It's not specific one item. Like, for example, I'm not going to be rating the exact Sparkle Time Fedora thing Roblox released, but I will rate something similar to it. There isn't going to be a super specific, like, type of way I'm rating these. It's just going to be pretty much how good I think they look and what the community is around them and, like, the history or whatever, and just vibes alone. But, yeah, that's pretty much all. So the first one we have is the Caps. This is a very large group as it includes stuff like the verified blonde, green cap, and the one you see right now, which is the red and brown cap, which I don't actually remember the name. I think this hat is pretty simple and, like, I wouldn't say it's a great hat. It seems pretty mediocre in my opinion. There isn't much behind it, and a lot of people don't really use these, but they are very, like, generalized and have a very large group of them. So I'll give it a C. I'll give it a B for now, just because of how many types there are, but that might change later on. Alright, the next one is the Visors. These are pretty basic, there isn't a ton of these, but if you don't know, they look like this. They're kind of just like half hats that sit on top of your head. And like this, like they look like what you would wear in like a food establishment place. Anyway, if you have seen my previous video where I make avatars based off of Roblox games, you might remember that I actually really like these things. I think they look amazing.
Flashback.
It probably turned out the least baked too, because I had the bloop. It was called the Comb Bloop, and I really hope someone buys them again. And that is why I'm going to give them, I'll give them an A for now, but it'll probably rise eventually. The next one, which is the banded Tophats. These are basically just top hats that at the bottom center have a circular round line about them. There isn't really much to these, and I think they got expensive or limited. There isn't really like a huge popularity scale around them, but they're not bad. I'm gonna give them a C tier. Alright, so the next thing we have is the Dominuses. These are probably one of the most well-known and popular Roblox items of all time. There's a lot of them, there's so many, and they all are extremely expensive. For example, this is one of the more well-known ones. Ignore the quality, I don't know what happened. And it's pretty popular because if anyone has over 1 million Robux just to spend, it's spent on this. I believe this is the most expensive one. It was only available in some event or something. It is the Dominus Aureus, if that's how you pronounce it.
Aureus. Aw, man.
But, yeah, these things are pretty interesting. They don't actually look good. Like, they look good on paper, but as soon as you add them to an avatar, they don't exactly match well with anything. Unless you have an avatar based around the actual Dominuses, that is. But other than that, I'm going to give them a B for being iconic and whatnot. It would be higher, but because they're so expensive, I can't. Also, I'll put them above the Caps. Next thing we have is the Fedoras. These are pretty well known. They don't have a ton going for them considering they're fedoras, and we all know how fedoras are. but they are well known and very well used. There's a lot of well-known ones. I'm saying well so much. There's a lot of well-known ones like the Sparkle Time Fedoras, which are all pretty sought after, no matter what color they are. But these actually look pretty good in my opinion. I'm not gonna give them a very high because they're fedoras and they're also not like, they're nothing crazy. So I'll give them a third B. But top of B tier. Okay, so the next thing we have is the Valkyries. If not the Dominus, I'd say these are the most popular and well-known. These are extremely expensive. They definitely look better on avatars than the Dominus, because that one literally covers your entire face and messes everything up. This one is more of like an extra hat. I feel like these get copied a ton because people like to flex that they have one. I don't know if it's true or this is a real one, but this YouTuber named Fedoras has one. As you can see, that's a pretty decent example of what they look like, even though it's covered by white hair. They don't look bad in any way, but they also don't look like... I'm gonna give this a C tier, because they definitely could look better, and I feel like they look better than the Dominus, but other than looking better, I don't think there's a lot to them. I think they're around the same price, maybe a little bit cheaper, but they're copied so much and overhyped, so I'm just gonna give them the C tier. It'll be high C tier, but not too high. The next thing we have up are the headphones or Beats. These don't really do much. They used to be a lot more popular in probably like around 2015 to 16. But around now, no one really uses them, and I don't think, they might be limited actually, hold on. I was correct actually, and they're going for pretty high selling points. For a gold one, I'd expect it to actually be more, and also they have a ton of copies of this, I just realized. Yeah, they don't look like horrible, but they definitely don't look good. I'd say they look like old school mesh, like looks like someone who practiced clay for the first time. So I'll give them D. That might be a bit overdoing it, but I don't think they look that good. It's not like they played music or anything too, and the only thing they really did for it was change the colors for different variations. Yummy! The next thing is the shades. These are also, I believe, made by the same people who is Clockworks. These ones look better in my opinion. They're definitely a lot more minuscule, and I think you can still buy them now for a reasonable price. Yeah, never mind, I should have known better. I'm gonna give these a higher tier. I don't think they look the best, but they are very small items, so it's hard to make small items look better, but at the same time, they could have done more of this. I'll give it a C. Wow. The next things we have up are the Sinister pumpkin heads. These look really good in my opinion. I think they did a really good job at modeling them out and adding the inside stuff, and people still use them a lot to this day. However, I believe they are also known for having one of the variations be one of the most expensive items on Roblox. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing because it gives them a title, but also like, you gotta lower your standards. Like, a lot of people actually like these. 31 million. Now, that's not as much as I thought, but that is still a huge amount. A lot of people like these. As you can tell, there's 34, which is a ton, and 36.6 thousand favorites. This was made in 2007, so it was a long time ago. I'm surprised they're still popular, but in my opinion, Roblox did a really good job at making these. I'm gonna give them an A tier. I think above the Visors, because it can match a lot better than the Visors. The next thing we have up is very niche. It's the Korblox, and Korblox probably only leg. This was, I believe, released in around 2020 for a Halloween event. Or that could be the headless accessory, which as you can see on the tier list is very much here. These have a very stereotypical type of name for them. They don't really have a good reputation in that stereotype, but it is there. I'd say people stopped buying this a while ago, even though people definitely still use it just for the leg. I'd say the head actually looks really good, so does the horn and the staff. I'm gonna give this a D though. I don't really think these are interesting. I never caught on to that hype. The next thing we have are the Antlers, which are pretty basic, but are very well known. They're not like super expensive compared to these other ones, but they are still expensive, around the low 10,000s to high thousands, I believe. These actually look really good, similar to the Sinister pumpkin heads in my opinion. I actually wanted to buy them at one point, but they were obviously way too expensive, which I hadn't found out at the time. There's a lot you can do with these. It's probably why there's a ton of variations of this that aren't made by Roblox and are UGC, because people like them. They're very good looking in my opinion, even if they aren't made by Roblox. Even though Roblox doesn't really make the highest modeled stuff, of course. I'll give them an A. I'll put them like on the same level as Visors, but barely, just a little bit above. Yeah! The next thing we have are the bucket heads. These are pretty simple. They are upside down buckets that sit on top of your head and have faces on them. They usually go by like agonizingly happy or something. These were actually recently added to the classic event, I believe it was. They might have been added to the recent Mega Hunt edition thing, but I never played it and I never cared, so I don't know if it was. These are pretty good. They're not super expensive either. They're only like around 500, I believe.
No.
Or at least the ones... Actually, I might have bought a rip-off one. In my opinion, they still look good. Even though they are actually more expensive than I thought, they still look good. They're well made, and they look like they can add to a lot of stuff on avatars. I know I'm giving a lot of these items A tier, but I'm going to give this thing A tier. Lower than the Visors. Actually above the Visors, sorry. They're just getting ruined today. The next thing we have are the books. These don't really have a lot going for them. They're pretty simple. They're just open books that sit on top of your head. They usually just come in different colors, maybe sometimes unique titles, but there really isn't much to do for them. They're usually free though, which is pretty nice. I'll put them in C tier below the Tophats.
Huh?
The next thing we have is the robot... Oh, I forgot what these are called. I think it's just the box head or robot box body parts. They look really good. I think they were made around in 2018 to 19. Could be very wrong though with that. A lot of people still use this if they have the money to afford it. It doesn't really match super well, if anything, because it's made for one specific type of avatar bundle. But I'd still say it's well made and looks good. I'll give it a B because it's not very good at matching, but it's a decent price and it looks good.
Pizza!
Next thing we have are the horns. These aren't very well known anymore. I think a few months ago or last year they were, but they definitely could be more popular. These things are super expensive though, so there's a lot of copies going around. I think Roblox fixed the copies problem, but that is like the least of their worries when it comes to UGC, honestly. I'm gonna give these a second C tier because they look decent, but I definitely wouldn't pay the price they are. But that's kind of how Roblox is. The next thing we have is the painter heads. These are very, well not known, I'd say. No one wears these anymore. Like, it must have been around 2013 when these were still used. I haven't heard for these in so long. I don't think they're very expensive, but they might be limited and all gone. It must be very easy to remake these into UGC because there isn't much you can recognize of how Roblox made it. It's just an item. So I'm going to give it D tier, but like the brim between D and C. The next thing we have is the present, or the gift hat. I don't know what to say about this. They come in different colors and textures. But other than that, there is literally nothing you can say about this. They were made around the Christmas time. I don't think they make them anymore. I think they're expensive, but not limited. I really just couldn't care less about these. I'm gonna put these in D tier. They look good, but there's nothing going for them. You know, we'll go C tier just to be nice. The next thing we have is Mr. Tentacles and his friends. These guys, I love them. They're so nice. I love him. I wanted to add him. I don't know how much he costs actually, but I'm going to get his head one day. That sounds bad, but I'm going to wear him one day. I swear. I love him. S tier. And the final accessory we have is the hard hat. There isn't much to this, since it's more... Well, I guess I shouldn't say that. There's a ton to this. It used to be the mascot, I believe, to Buildersclub and Turbo Club, or is it just Turbo's Builder Club? I don't know. But these guys were very important when it was like the Tiggs time, like in 2017. They've fallen off heavily now, but I'd still say they look good. I was actually going to replace my current avatar's hat, the snowy yellow and blue one, with one of these, but I couldn't find it because I thought they were all off sale, and I think they are. So I had to think of something else to add. So I guess they're very important to me. I'd give them an A tier. Not above the Visors, but they're good. Anyway, I'm going to do some mini stuff now that changes a little bit of spots. I'm gonna move down the headphones to F tier because I don't care. Putting the branded top hats in front of the Valkyrie because Valkyries, I mean, they look good, but like, I'm putting the Sinister pumpkin heads in S tier, which might be a big thing to change, but I'm still gonna do it. They've made such a name for Roblox with the insane price, and they look really good, and a lot of people buy them, even if it is that expensive, so there must be something good about them. I'm putting the Fedoras and Dominuses above the box head. Or... you know what, I'll keep the box head in the middle, because the Dominuses are just like, yes, they look kind of good. Well, I wouldn't say look kind of good. I wouldn't even say look kind of good. There's like a few variations, maybe like one or two that look very good. So, I just don't think I can justify putting it against the box head, who is amazing. Sparkle Time Fedora, though. You need to look up one, they're amazing. Anyway, I think that's my final tier list. There isn't much else to change, and I think I'm happy with this. If you want to see me doing more tier lists, that would be fun. I'll make some more tier lists eventually. I'm not gonna stop doing these. I'm not gonna keep making videos about Roblox avatars and stuff. I'll start branching out soon, don't worry. And yeah, I'll probably post a video next 47 years. Bye.